You know, the only dangerous animal that we had in Cuba was the Cubans.
Oh, yeah.
The worst thing we had was the araña peluda.
The widow, black widow.
You could sleep naked in the country, any place you don't have to worry about anything. Maybe.
He got a question, Pablo.
Yeah.
See, this was done.
Sure.
This was sold to bring money to the release of the prisoners.
Oh, really?
Okay, you got medallas in there.
Hang on, let me get something here real quick.
These are the chips of the Red Cross. This is the return. But his mother was very influential with Donovan. You don't have this. You don't have this.
I've seen part of that picture where he was getting the. Now I've seen that picture. I've seen it, and that he was gonna because he later on he said in a speech, this will be returned to a free Havana.
Yeah, that we have to get it for him.
Yeah,
that's the flag in there.
The flag's in there.
Yeah, well, they
this will be returned to the free Havana.
We took it away. We sued him.
I sued him for it.
Motherfucker was.
And the Kennedy never had to return the flag because Kennedy made a promise. I will return it to you in a free Havana. He died. He didn't return anything, so we'll give back to him.
This is true.
No disrespect, but you know, what's mine, mine.
Y'all, it's amazing because you're telling me a lot of these things that I'm not heard before.
One thing I do recognize.
I think I've seen some pictures similar. I've not seen that. Yeah, I'm familiar with the uniform. Wow.
One thing I do recognize is that after they all were all in prison, he said that Victory had a lot of problems with
the fetus and orphan, and he said that in that video. If you ever get a chance to see the video.
What's the name of the guy?
Peter Kornblue. He said
Peter Kornblue.
Yeah.
Come to your mind?
Yeah. And the fetus and orphan.
Yeah. And the fetus is an orphan.
Pablo,
Kennedy said that.
Does the name of Peter Kornblue comes to you on the relation of the Bay of Victory?
The name I remember vaguely, but I cannot put it together with the Bay of Victory.
He wrote the book. He wrote a book on the Bay of Victory.
He was not part of the deal, right?
Look, in my book, I had the 52 American sponsors that were part of the deal. All right, and those people I can swear because I used to go. There's no money. Pablo won't get it. I had to go out of the street and go to the Water Authority to get this and that to give me some money, or to get me Ed Sullivan to give me some money, to get me Clayton Power, what's his name? He was chairman of he was the first general that handled the autonomy.
Oh, I know.
What's his name?
Taylor.
No, not Taylor. Has the name the same as the boxer, Clayton. I have it in my book. This guy, every time he said, "You money,"
Let me tell you.
When the Castro said, "I need $2.9 million cash today," said, "No more planes leave." Talking December 23rd.
Okay.
And Kennedy's assistant was in Cuba with Donovan. And he said to my mother and Donovan, "Castro wants $2.9 million." And Donovan said, "Well, John Nolan was the assistant Kennedy, said, go back to Miami. I'm going to ask her to let this last plane go. Go back to Miami, and when you get to Miami, call Bobby. And then we need $2.9 million cash."
Yeah, because now I was told by John J. Hooker that Bobby Kennedy was the one who had to organize a lot of these organizations and the corporations to gather up to $53 million in supplies.
Right, it was this way, because I can tell you this because I was there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you were there.
I was there. So the thing is the following. It was Donovan, and you know about Donovan.
Yeah, the Donovan was the one that was.
Donovan was, let me tell you who Donovan was. Donovan was an OSS major during the Second World War, working for the OSS. After the OSS, after the war, he was one of the prosecutors in the Nuremberg trials. He was the one in charge of gathering all the information related to the prisoner of war camps.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, you ought to know that.
I should. Yeah,
You
I should
ought to know that.
Yeah,
because he's the one. All the movies that you saw, what happened in the camps and all that, he was the one that gathered it. Okay, a lovely person. You would have loved meeting him. And the story is, what you have to understand. I have to tell you from the beginning, if you care to listen to the story, how it worked. Okay, my mother, there was a trial, well, before that, in 1961, after the invasion, Castro, in the month of May, the invasion was in April, in the month of May, he was in the gallery, he said, okay, I'm willing to exchange the prisoners for 500 caterpillar tractors, DCA.
Yeah. Now I was told that.
So
can I tell you who? Yeah. Can I tell you who told me this? John J. Hooker. You know,
okay.
now,
you have to read my book.
Do you remember John J. Hooker?
I think I know his name. The book is here someplace, but I don't read the
book. I was looking
here.
for the book, you know.
Oh,
it's okay. John J. I tell you what.
Look for the book. After the Bay of Pigs.
Okay, I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you what I told him. You know John Siegenthaler? Close friend of the Kennedys.
Yeah.
He started USA Today newspaper. He's a very prominent personality. He sent me to John J. Hooker after I got through meeting with him. And he said, go meet with John J. Hooker. Kennedy had sent John J. Hooker down there to tell the brigade that he was very sorry for what happened and that he was negotiating for their release. And that's what he told me when I met with John J. Hooker and we had lunch together. He's a prominent politician in Tennessee and a lawyer. He still is. And he said this. He said that, yes, Kennedy had sent me down there to go to tell them that he was very sorry for what had happened. And then he told me, he said that President Kennedy was going to trade the brigade for the $53 million. Robert Kennedy was getting the money from these corporations and stuff to get together and get about $53 million in supplies and money and food for the brigade. And then he went on to say that Castro had told him, he said, okay, I'll give it to you, but also I want these tractors. And these tractors are for the farmers that are in Cuba. And he told me, he said, well, Kennedy found out that these tractors were actually going to be used for military airstrips that Fidel Castro wanted to build. He gave me more information.
He said, you know, that's why I say, I keep saying my book is the one that has the right.
Right, okay. That's why I'm here.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah, I know. That's why I need to talk. I want to see if we can get
the way I can tell you is in the sequence of how I happened.
Pablo, when all this happened, his brother was in jail in Cuba. He was part of the brigade.
And I was working for the Cuban government.
Okay. Now, when all this started, Berta Barreto,
I'm taping both of them.
Okay, Berta Barreto, she was a very well-known lady in Cuba, politically and socially. Okay. Her husband was the guy that introduced to the United Nations the
former husband.
My
father was the permanent delegate of Cuba to what was going to be the United Nations. That was in 1945, and they started by creating a socio-economic group in San Francisco, California. At that time, my father was sent by President Grau with Ernesto Digo, who was a very well-known lawyer, international law. He was like my father. He was one of the delegates. So we were there. So to make a story short, Digo, my father, tried to create in the socio-economic group what it was going to be the Declaration of Human Rights. That didn't work out very well. At the end of the year in San Francisco, there was going to be a meeting in London for the creation of the United Nations at the Westminster Institute University in London.
Ah, Eduardo, aquí. Y el agua camagüeyana tengo que
He was a very good. He was a very.
The book. Oh God.
Eddie was
Thank
a
you,
very
Lord.
good
That's
friend of
something
my
else.
mother.
Yes, I asked for it first.
That's something
Alright.
that I have neglected.
Because my mother came from Camagüey, same as this.
Oh,
That's right.
I'm very
You
proud
were
of it.
father from
El agua
way
de
back.
Camagüey, así está el agua de Camagüey, coño, mándame una botella.
Ahí yo sí, oye, yo sí me bañé en los cajilones.
Sorry to be late, but I just
No,
got
no,
super
no.
complicated.
Something happened to me in the morning. I had to go to
So I wanted to give you synthesis of more or less what happened and how things went about. I have all that in writing, so there's a way I can send it to you, I'll do it.
okay.
So
I'll give you
anyway.
my information.
Anyways, this is how it happened. These people were captured in April, sometime in April and May.
Let me
Oh,
sign the
please.
book for you.
Please.
in April.
Thank you so very much. God bless you.
When I write a book, you
Hey,
when I write it.
just meeting you gentlemen
Yeah,
this is just too much.
He's at fault here because he hasn't written his book yet. Okay? And he should do it. But anyways, let me tell you what happened exactly in sequence. Castro announced that he wanted to
Thank
send
you.
the prisoners with DCA tractors. 500 of them.
Okay, now DCA tractors. Now these are the tractors that.
These are the big tractors. The big,
And what do they use for basically?
everything and all that.
Okay, now what do they use for basically?
They use it to build roads.
Right. But see, because John J. Hooker told me that those
Yeah,
tractors were
airports,
going to be used for
yeah.
airstrips,
Yeah.
military airstrips.
Yeah,
All
but,
the airstrips
but
and
let,
people
me-
will
let,
live over
let, let me get to that. Let me get to
Okay,
that.
okay, all right.
Is it Mitchell?
Yes, David Mitchell.
So what happened is Kennedy heard about it, so I was saying, Mr. Kennedy, Castro will be changing my tractor. So immediately, President Kennedy called Milton Eisenhower. He's the brother of
The president,
Eisenhower, the former president. And he asked the guy, I want you to get involved. I'm going to get some more people in here, but I want you to head the thing. So Eisenhower said, okay, I suggest that you also get involved in Roosevelt, who happened to be the chairman of the Declaration of Human Rights. He also recommended the guy that was the United Auto Workers Union. What was his name?
Walter Rooker.
Walter Rubin. All right. So those are the three that form the Cuba for Tractors Committee. All right.
Okay.
So that's how it happened.
I'll get you.
So what Kennedy approved that. President Kennedy approved that. Approved the existing of that organization.
Oh, okay,
All
okay.
right.
okay.
I mean, he didn't approve it. It was approved by the right department. All right, to get the go ahead and create a non-for-profit corporation, all that.
Okay.
Well, whatever the plan was. And then these people went to Congress and other places and started receiving promises from the different groups to help out in that because he had the blessing of the President of the United States. So these people wanted to be in the good book of President Kennedy said, I'm willing to give 50,000, give to with 100. You know, we're talking about tractors. At that time, we were talking about money, exactly. There was no money talk, but Castro asked for 500 tractors. The value of the tractors would have been $28 million.
Okay, so it's maybe worth $20 million worth of
Yeah,
that.
that's okay. So they started talking. The Republicans in the Congress of the United States and the Senate were opposed to it.
Okay.
Were opposed to it because they, coming from Kennedy, they didn't like that very much of it. And they claimed that these tractors could be used as tanks.
Oh, really?
That's the reason why. And then what the Cuban Food Tractors Committee said, okay, we're willing to give you a smaller tractor for agricultural purposes only, at the same value of the 500 tractors, the 500 bulldozers. All right. So they were talking on that, and they went to Cuba. Committee went to Cuba and talked to Castro there, but Castro said, no, I want the 500 the bulldozers, because I need them for heavy equipment. I don't need tractors here right now at this moment, because he was in the process of taking them away anyway, all the farms, everybody in Cuba. So he wanted the heavy tractor. He couldn't get any place. The United States was the only one that was making the DCA bulldozers at the time. The Russian had to buy it. So that's what happened.
Okay.
So to make this a long story short, these people that went prisoner in Cuba, they formed a committee recommended by Castro. Well, you form a prisoners committee that goes to the United States and convince them that they should give you the 500 tractors. So this committee went to the United States, and they went to Washington. They met with Rooter. They met with Eisenhower. They met with Mr. Roosevelt, and all that. But nothing came out of it. They went back to Cuba. They went back to prison. The 10 of them. Castro sent them 3 or 4 months later in a cargo ship that was going to Key West. That cargo ship came to Key West, and instead of they having these prisoners that came here on parole, the United States trying to do something about it, they were told, listen, the Tractor of Freedom Committee has been disbanded. It doesn't exist anymore because the United States Congress and the Senate was against it.
Oh,
maybe the Republicans, because it was a political thing also then. So that's what happened. And then what happened is how the 10 members of the prisoners that came to the States, they only came back, 8 of them went back to Cuba and 2 of them stayed in the United States. But at the same time, Alvarito Sanchez, which I don't know if you have a picture of him there.
Yeah, we're doing everything.
Alvarito Sanchez was the group of prisoners formed a committee, Cuban Famines Committee for the Liberation of the Bay of Pigs Prisoners of War, Inc. And that committee was formed in July of 61. All right? That committee went to Cuba with the 8 prisoners. 2 of them stayed here. And when they got to Havana, was Ernesto Freire and Alvarito Sanchez went to Cuba. They were complaining. They said, well, we sent 8 prisoners, 10 prisoners, only 8 come back. They said, no, we're willing to take the place. We are the members of the Cuban Committee, and we'll take the place if it's necessary. So it was a big thing there. I can tell you a long story that happened there because Azuquita escaped from the doctors, and he was in an embassy, the Venezuelan embassy, and they asked Alvarito Sanchez and Freire to get together with my mother, because my mother used to be married to a diplomat, and to go ahead and talk to this guy that was in the asylum at the Venezuelan embassy. And they called Azuquita because he had diabetes. And when Bay of Pigs happened, Castro saw him in the cabin. The police said, "What happened with him?" He said, "Well, he's dying. He had diabetes." "Oh, take care of him, because all the newspaper were there. Said, take care of him. I don't want my responsibility and all that." So he wanted the trip to the doctor. He escaped. Okay. So they want him to give himself up and to go back to prison. So they went to see him. My mother, Alvarito, and Ernesto, and they went to see him, and they told him,
listen, mention to him, Pablo, that Ernesto Freire was very close to Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
Because they went to school together.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so he was...
Freire knew Bobby Kennedy.
Okay.
From the time that, so that helped in the relationship. All right, but the important thing that you have to understand is that Alvarito Sanchez, one of the members, the president of the Cuban Families Committee, was a very smart guy, and what he did is, we're going to get assistance from the United States if we do it properly. And the way to do it properly is to hire to hire a publicity company. So they hire a publicity company in New York, public relations company, and believe me, I was there. What they did is they made sure that in 4 papers of the United States, the New York Times, Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, and the Miami Herald, every day something would come out of the paper that said that President Kennedy was guilty of abandoning these people.
Wow.
So that was the tactic that was used. And believe me, we had to pay the press. Wow. Sometimes I paid it myself. I get into a manila envelope, I brought the cash, give it to the newspaper line. Okay, so we have things you don't talk about it, but it happened. Okay? But you have to make sure that this happened every day. Every day, it had to be every day. Until you guys came out of prison. Every day something will be written saying that he was guilty of abandoning the rest. So Kennedy was very adamant, and he said to his brother, do something, help me out in this. So my mother was able, and this I give credit to my mother, when these people went in prison, now we're talking 62, we're talking a year afterwards, March of 62, Castro formed a trial, a military trial, and he condemned these people for
30
reasons.
years in prison.
Well, whatever. But
I think I read that.
At the time of the trials, that was in March of 62. At the time of the trials, my mother was with a group of the mothers. You know, she was the coordinator of the Families Committee. So they went back to the house, and there were a bunch of ladies there, Mamá de Torres Zamora, mamá de muchos de ustedes. And they said, what can we do? What can we do? And my mother started crying, and my stepfather came to her and said, Vete, please, well, you have to do something. And she said, well, I don't know anybody. You know, my stepfather was the president of the racetrack in Havana, the political party. So my stepfather said, well, I remember in my days as a politician, he was elected as a representative, but he resigned to give his position to el que fue alcalde de La Habana, ¿cómo se llamaba él? Castellano. No, el que murió el hijo en el bote en el Celia. En el Celia. El alcalde de La Habana. Okay. So what happened was that I remember from that time, because if he resigned, the one that takes the job will be Raúl Mercalz, and my father said, okay, we do it as long as he pays it back the $30,000 I paid to get elected. Yeah, things happen, but they were good friends. So what happened is, he said, well, I used to go out with Conchita Fernandez, and Conchita Fernandez used to be the secretary of Edith Chivas, who was a very popular politician in Cuba, and now was the secretary of Fidel Castro. He said, well, call her up. So Jesus called her up, and after a while to find out where she was at. So they talked to her, and he said, well, Conchita and Jesus, well, you know, they talked nice for a while. I said, well, you know, my wife, her son is in prison by a pig, she's crying here, and I have to figure out a way to help her out, and you are the last resort I have. Can you help me out? So Conchita Fernandez said, okay, put Berta on the phone. So my mother told her, she said, look, Conchita, I have promises. I'm a member of the Cuban Families Committee. I'm the coordinator in Miami. I have promises of the Cuban Families Committee that the promise I made to the directors of Freedom Committee could be channeled to us. All right, the promises. So what I want you to do is to establish that Castro that we're willing to talk, but he has to allow the committee to come to Cuba and negotiate. And that's what I want to do. So Conchita said, okay, prepare a draft and a memo explaining all that to me, and I'll give it to Celia, and Celia will give it to Fidel if I didn't talk to him before. Fantastic. My mother prepared the draft, and my stepfather typed. They burned to the Reforma Agraria where she was working with Castro's secretary, and she read it and said, okay, but I'm going to change it a little bit here. So she said that in the typewriter, and she herself changed it. Okay. And they say, okay, read it, Berta, you know, this is the way. Yeah, that sounds okay. So don't worry, I'll talk to Celia and do that. Apparently, Celia Sanchez was a very, very close advisor of Castro at the time. So that night at my house, Celia Sanchez called. Are you Berta Barreto? Yes. Okay. He said, Berta, you know, I want to make sure about the things that you say in your memo. You said you have promises of $28 million. Yeah, that's right. I have promised. Okay, I got you sure. You don't lie to me. Because you lie to me, you know. No, I swear. She didn't have a thing. She didn't have nothing, you know. But she lied. Bluntly. But you know, you figure they had nothing to lose. So what the hell? So he said, okay, Berta, because if not everything will, no, don't worry about it. It's okay. Fidel will call you sometime tonight. At 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, Castro called her. Berta, I'm Berta, okay. Where are your children? Because I happened to escape from prison. I was in G2 quarters in Havana, and I escaped after 2 weeks I was there. And my brother Pancho and Guy were with the Phillips at the Venezuelan embassy. Pedro Rodriguez was there too. So that was at that time, no? And he said, where's your son Pedro? Well, Pedro, my son, is in Miami. I was like, okay, fine. And so my mother right away, by life flash, said, well, you should remember some of my children, because my oldest one, Alberto, is one of the prisoners, but my ex-husband, Guy Perez-Cisneros, was the one that saved your life in Colombia back in 1948.
De Bogotá.
And Castro said, oh yeah, I remember him, but he died. Yeah, he and I didn't get along very well. So well, let's talk about something else. Yeah, because my father didn't get along with him because he was instructed by Grau, the president of Cuba, to go over there on the Rio Janeiro Treaty, to get them out of Colombia. The one that paid for the trip of Castro, Alfredo Guevara, Del Pino, and somebody else. I mentioned the names in the book.
For them.
Yeah, for them.
They were
assigned in the Cuban embassy in Bogotá because they were involved in the after the husband of the woman that was going to bed with Gaitán, that killed Gaitán. You know, Gaitán was a very popular guy in Colombia. They created a big thing about it, and tomorrow there's a lot of people dead and all that. And even Castro was going for killing a nun or something like that.
He killed prison, yeah. He got a prison.
Yeah, but he wasn't sure. But anyway,
how come I've not heard this?
My father,
Bogotá? Well, no. I'm talking about some of the things you're
March
telling me.
1948.
This is 1948. The creation
March
of
1948.
Organization of American States.
No. I'm not talking about just this. I'm talking about a lot of the things you're telling me today. I've not heard of them. I mean, I don't understand.
It's history. By the way, in Bogotá, the time was General Marshall, representing the United States. Was my father with Diego and with Guillermo Bell and Corey.
As a matter of fact, explain it. C-47 of the Cuban Air Force went out to take him out of Bogotá.
No, it was the Castro came back. Castro and the came back with cows. Some cows that were coming to Cuba
There were two planes in.
to mix. There, they set with the cows.
Two planes went.
No, I don't know if the plane from the Cuban Air Force
C-47.
or the 47 came in. Somebody carried the cows. Well, definitely he came in with the cows.
Well, it could be the same plane.
Yeah, it could be the same plane. That's what I'm
Because I
saying.
know the name of the
I know. My father had to make the arrangements to get them out of the embassy in Cuba in Bogotá to the airport.
Oye,
he put them in the plane and
El
said,
jueves tenemos reunión, Oscarito. El jueves. Sí, a las 6.
So Castro,
Very important.
So Castro said to my mother, okay, let's talk about it, the money. You have the $28 million? And mother said, no, I don't have it physically, but I do have the promises.
Yeah.
The promises that they're going to come in. Okay, fine. So what do you need? And mother said, well, I need to have the Finance Committee to come here and sit down and talk with you and negotiate with you. Okay, fine. I'm going to allow that to happen. You have a photocopy of the telegram there someplace. That was in...
Is in your book also?
Yeah, well, no, that telegram, no. The telegram that Castro was there, no, that was the telegram you have allowing Donovan. We're talking March of 62. Okay, that night, that was in April, the day that Castro called was in April 6, April 6, the night of the sentence. The night of the sentence. That you guys were sentenced. April 7th or April 7th.
That was April.
Yeah, around April.
It was on April 7th.
April 7th.
On 9 they shot the other guy.
So anyways, no, that was a year before. Anyways, so what happened is that guy said, well, now it's not $28 million anymore. Now it's $62 million. What? Yeah, don't worry about it. If you're dealing with the Irish, say they have a lot of money over there. So my mother, she figured, well, I keep my mouth shut, I don't say anymore. She said, well, can you get it? Well, if you can get me these people to be on the work, they're going to get the money? Yes. I allow them to come in. So my mother called, was Ernesto Freire in Washington. She had a phone number. And Bobby Kennedy was there. Bobby Kennedy was in the background. And that I learned later on. And my mother said, well, Ernesto, I just talked to Fidel Castro. He said he allows you guys to come in here if the promises that you receive the $20 million are true. So she told her that, as a matter of fact, he didn't know what my mother was going to say. So Freddy said, okay, Berta, but I have to call you back to be exact on that. Obviously, Freddy had to consult with Bobby Kennedy to figure out where do they go from there. Okay, so Bobby Kennedy said, okay, Berta, okay, Ernesto, go ahead and tell Berta, yes, we're going to start negotiating. Fine. Freddy called back to Havana, called my mother, said, okay, Berta, as soon as we hear from Castro, he allows us to go to Cuba. We'll stay at your house and we'll meet with Castro. A few days later, the sentence was April 7th. The Cuban Families Committee members, Álvaro Sánchez, Ernesto Freire, Yaca, and Virginia Betancourt, went to Cuba and stayed at my house. My mother picked them up at the airport and stayed at my house. And a few hours later, came in Fidel Castro to my house. And Castro, they sat down to talk about it. And
David, he's pretty big. And this guy may have to close this debate early. Why don't you get together later on? Or by the book or whatever, so you can help them out, do whatever they want.
Okay.
yeah, okay.
You can talk to Eddie.
Oh, you want to talk to Eddie?
No. You always welcome him.
But I'm almost done.
Okay, because I got you, yeah.
But the thing is, to make a long story short, Castro, at the end of the conversation, which lasts 2 or 3 hours, I can tell you a lot of jokes, a lot of things that happened in that meeting anyway. He came up with a list of 54 names of wounded people. Among them, you were there. And my mother and Alvarito looked at the list and said, oh, but this is not complete. We need to add some more names to it, all that. So you know,
They went to
it was not the cup. So we add 6 more to this. You have the original list. I can't forget my mother. I gave it to you. So they agreed to 60
But also some people that were wounded refused to come.
True. Well, my mother and Alvarito
I know,
add a bunch of
Jesus.
names to the list.
Jesus.
But the 54
They bullied Castro with that.
came out to 60. Okay, so that's what happened. And then within a few days, I can tell you stories. They were going to give him suits and dresses and all that. And my mother said, forget about dresses. They're going to go out exactly the same way they dress now. And that's it. They had a yellow shirt on and something like that. So that's the way you go. So when 20,000 people received it at the airport here in Miami, International Airport. And there were about 50 ambulances to take them all to the Mercy Hospital.
And you came on one of the cutters. It was the St. Lucie
No,
cutter.
No, airplanes.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Airplane. So that's what happened. And they, as prisoners, they are willing to work with the Cuban Families Committee. They went to New York, a group of them, others to Miami, other different places, and they were able to gather the press. Again, everything, something would come out that said that Kennedy was guilty of running these people. So they started working. One day at Bobby Kennedy's office in Washington, what's his name? Harris Williams, who was one of the wounded, talked to Bobby Kennedy and said, I'm trying to get one of the members of the 52 sponsors of the Verdes to be the chairman. And Bobby Kennedy said, no, you don't need chairman. What you need is a good negotiator. And just 4 months ago, this guy, James B. Donovan, was able to negotiate the release of Power and the spy that was captured in Berlin. I forgot his name now, but it's my book. So anyways, and Donovan was able to negotiate. You can get him to do it, it'll be fine. So at that meeting was the husband of the Silveira woman that was in prison with you guys.
He became later governor of New Jersey.
All right. And he was the owner. He was the owner of the waterworks in some Elizabethtown or something.
Governor of New Jersey.
That was later on. But anyway, yeah. And he said, I know Donovan, so let's have a meeting with him. I'll let you know when I can have a meeting with him. So we went to the meeting. My mother had come to New York, but it couldn't be done before. So that's the reason I went to the meeting. You could have gone, or any of you could have gone. But anyway, Harry was there, and we talked to Kennedy, to Donovan, explained everything to him. And he finally said, well, I didn't make a long story short. He said, okay, I'll do it and I'll do it for free. The only thing is that I'm the one that talks. You just, when I agree to something, you say that because he explained, it can only be one voice. We cannot descend among each other. So that's how the whole thing happened.
yeah.
And Donovan was able to go to Cuba in July of 62.
Okay.
Right? I suggest you read my book.
Yeah, I want to get your book. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I gave you the name, but I don't have